Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm here with IT. He's back. We went and fetched him from the Clinton Foundation. He's all right. He's just got touched a little bit. We also got War Spirit and, of course, myself.
What's up?
Yeah, War Spirit, he's a little sick right now. He sounds like Mr. New Vegas from Fallout New Vegas, if you ever played that.
It's Mr. New Vegas.
Mr. New
You're never alone when you're hearing me.
Right. He's here to tell you he loves you. So, welcome everybody on board tonight. We got flooded this week. You know, we have our dead weeks, but this week, far from. We got like 20 topics to get down. And are we going to cover them all? Probably not, but we want to go over a few of them. Mainly the first two I brought up in the title, which is Jack Wilson and Iran. Stuff is popping.
357 is lit.
Yeah, there's IT. So, all right. I'll start. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us here together safely tonight. I pray for San Juan County. I pray for the sheriffs and the police in this area. I pray for our enemies near and afar. I pray that your guidance, Lord, just shows the light to the darkest of souls. Lord, I pray that you can, through us, bring people to know your love and your kindness. I pray, Lord, tonight that you give us the words to say and that the Holy Spirit just overflows, Lord.
Yes, Lord.
Thank you for everything you've given us, and thank you for blessing us every day. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
So, today, where do we want to start? Yes. It was like 2 days after we did our last podcast, Sunday morning church. Wonderful service, as usual. However, a guy walks in. Where did this even happen at?
This happened at the Church of Christ. It was West Freeway Church of Christ. And that's right around the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Okay, Dallas-Fort Worth area. There was
This man really thought it was a good idea to shoot up a church in the middle of Texas.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time.
Well, the first Texas shooting, he got away with it, and he killed 15 people with an AR.
And wasn't he stopped by somebody with an AR?
He was stopped by.
I was going to say, homies end up getting shot.
After he did it, though.
Right.
It wasn't a gun in the church.
Yeah, it was because the gun was locked up.
So what happened all the way across the street?
What happened here in this case was a lone gunman entered the church wearing a hoodie, looking like an edgy little bastard, walked in the church with a visible shotgun. And, of course, the first security guard was talking with him, was getting ready to pull his iron out of the holster, but he took 5 seconds to do it.
Yeah.
The first security guard took 5 seconds to get even close to pulling his gun out of his holster, and, of course, he was shot dead instantly.
Yeah, he flagged himself.
Point blank shotgun round to the torso, was instantly killed. After that, pretty much it was clear that there was a shooter in the building. There was about 10 people who stood ready with a firearm to defend the congregation. However, the one that got the most successful shot and the first shot, and I think like the only shot that, and was the only shot he needed, was Jack Wilson. Jack Wilson stopped the massacre from escalating with a single round to the head with a P229 Sig Sauer.
Yep.
You know, mess with God's hour, get the Sig Sauer. I saw that floating around and I loved it. So he successfully killed the gunman, showing exactly what we were talking about, what we needed to do. And I love this scenario. I hate it that it had to happen. You know,
but it's a perfect example.
It's a perfect example of what we've been talking about. And also, in two different cases, not to disrespect the hero that died that day, but that is what we're talking about, is, of course, don't be cheap with your gear. And, of course...
he was pulling it out of his... He was ass pulling, man. Yeah. He was reaching behind him.
Yeah. Do you think he rolled a 20 on that?
Dude, he got a D1, dog. Homie did not do well on that.
He didn't do so.
Well, I don't even think it was the lack of quality of gear. I think it was just the lack of preparation.
Lack of training.
The thing that bothered me was that he reached behind himself.
Right.
Well, okay, so a lot of guys, especially old-timers, they'll carry what's called the 3 o'clock position.
Yeah.
Which is right here, right above your right butt cheek if you're a right-handed person.
I don't understand that. That's just...
It for years they thought, because for a lot of people they think it's more comfortable. So And I've heard a lot of old timers say, "Well, I'd rather shoot my ass than my wiener," you know.
Yeah.
But the thing is if you're if you're using proper trigger control,
you're never gonna shoot yourself.
You're not gonna shoot yourself. Like I don't want to shoot myself in the ass either.
Yeah. I don't want to shoot myself at all.
No.
So
no.
you just.
Oh, I just watched the video for like the first time. Jack Wilson bombed this mother hubber, dude.
Yeah.
Damn, instantly.
Yeah.
I mean, the other guy, like with the shotgun, he flinched around a bit. Poor dude. That's kind of hard to watch.
There was two people that died from a shotgun blast. The first one was right there.
Oh, damn.
He was the guy who reached behind himself. This guy dies first.
First guy was killed instantly.
He drops.
Oh, okay. So there's 2 civilians killed in the incident.
Second guy died later at the hospital.
See, look.
Okay, yeah.
He stands up, he reaches behind himself, and then he's down, and then this other guy gets hit, and then bam, down. That's it.
Instantly.
What I think it was, I think it would have been fine right here.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of fast shooters that do carry that.
It just seems uncomfortable to me.
I just don't prefer it.
Yeah.
But
dude,
if you train that way,
if
you train that way, when you come up, you drive it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, me, I carry appendix. You guys know,
right?
And we even train with it a little bit. I do have to say it is really comfortable.
It's comfortable.
It felt natural,
and it's fast.
Yep.
Man, that firearm is in the fight.
Dude, you could have emptied a mag in him before he could have got that pumped in. You know what I mean?
Well, that's just it. If I'm from here to you, which the first guy almost was,
right?
Don't. Once you've decided that you need to pull your iron and you see the gun, it's pussyfooting around is done.
Right.
You pull the effer out. I'm trying not to cuss.
Yeah.
You pull the son of a gun out and you waste his ass.
Right. And I mean, Jack Wilson. I mean, that was an anointed shot right there.
Yeah. That literally was God in that firearm.
Yeah, God was in that bullet. There was not a second shot fired from Jack.
No. Bam, done. And I mean,
he just walked up like, oh. Yeah.
I bet you he was thinking at the back of the head, I can't believe I just hit that shot.
Dude, under stress. Just watching 2 men drop, two shotgun
with
rounds.
a handgun.
Well, and he did say, so he had the wherewithal to decide. He decided to take the headshot. And the reason why they were interviewing him, and he said, well, there were still other people from the congregation, like really close to him, off to the right there. Yeah. And he was afraid.
Well, he can't mag dump from that distance.
He was afraid to do a body shot from there.
Because he would have hit other members.
So he went for the headshot.
And got him.
Which instantly.
Done. That was the end of the fight. And it really...
it still messes with me that it's. I think it's tragic that 2.
I think it's tragic that the house of God needs to have armed guards.
It is.
I mean, but
I mean, even what's funny. I mean, I don't think the Bible talks about it, but like, I'm sure there were attacks even in biblical times.
Well, look at you say the house of God has it's tragic. Think about it this way. I mean, Gabriel and his angels obviously had some kind of weapons when God told them to cast the angels.
Well, Gabriel nailed that sucker in the head last week.
And that's heaven.
All right.
So, I mean, I don't even think it's tragic. I just think it's, just like what Jack Wilson said, is evil exists. And so we need to accept that and be prepared for it.
Yeah, which... That's exactly where we're at, and that was where I was getting to. We have an example of someone who wasn't as prepared as they could have been and saved his own life.
Right.
And no disrespect
to him.
That was
the tragedy.
Yeah, that was the tragedy.
Yeah.
Which is what I was talking about, is that tragedy is because you're not ready for it. And
that's just because you go buy a gun, you buy a holster and stick it on. I'm a superhero now.
No, you're not invincible. Yeah.
No, you got to train.
You got to be able to close your eyes and know how to operate things.
Yeah, right. and so we actually got a chance, guys, to all together. The 3 of us, we got to go train a little bit, do some shooting out at the San Juan Wildlife Federation gun range. Good times, freaking cold. Couldn't feel our hands.
And that was the best time to do it, I think.
Yeah. So, and that's what I was just going to say. The more adverse... Once you get basic firearms training down, that is the best way to do it, is to train in adverse situations.
Conditions.
Because...
Dip your hands in water. Sit your hands in cold water. Yeah. Just know how to do it, man. Especially in the worst... You got to be ready for the worst.
Well, and that's just it. We've done that before too, where we've done competitions like where we even put oil on our hands and then do it. Because think about it, like you say, you get hit and you got blood on your hands.
Yeah, it's gonna be slick as oil, man.
Yeah.
Thick blood when it comes out, it's thick as oil.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something you got to train for, and you gotta your worst day at the range is going to be 10 times worse than your best day in a real situation.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I would like to know if Jack Wilson was like what his training tactics were and everything, because that was a really, like I said,
he's an NRA member. He teaches
that's
CCW
right. Yeah, he
classes.
teaches.
This man has been around the firearm.
He was secure in that shot. There was no second. Yeah. He knew it was like, this is going to be a headshot.
He's the former owner of a firearms instructor school called On Target.
Right. No shit.
It's awesome. He's going for county commissioner.
Right. Well, here's a conspiracy. County. It was all just a ploy to get more people to go to his school.
I said the funny conspiracy would be people are going to say, well, he just did that so people will vote for him for commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's cool. His and this was before all this happened. His slogan for his campaign was "Make sure you keep your vote on target."
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I mean, like, this guy is a
he's taking a terrible situation. And, I mean, for lack of a better term, he's kind of reaping the rewards of it.
Well, and he should.
You know what I mean? That man made one hell of a shot.
Like, what rewards? Like, I mean, because he's getting praise, but like at the same time, I bet he does have like a, damn, I wish I could have realized.
I wish I could have stopped. Yeah,
I'm sure his only regret is that he wished he could have saved
but I mean, at the same time, he deserves the praise because he did save countless other lives.
But he was asked about the bad guy, like if he felt bad or whatever. And he said,
I didn't kill a person; I killed an evil.
Yeah, that's what
he said. Precisely what I'm getting at. That is my whole message with every evil I speak about. It's like these people, the radical left and everything like that, are a lot like this person. They would have loved for this gunman to walk in this church and start killing people.
Yeah.
And not because they want to push an agenda. They just hate Christians that much.
Well,
they want to see us bloodied.
Another thing that the left really, really hates, and I heard like at first they were trying to say like he was like,
but he was wasn't he a 10-year felon?
Yeah.
Jack?
No, the shooter.
The shooter. Yeah.
How did he get a hold of a gun?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How did he get a hold of a gun?
Yeah, he was a felon in Oklahoma, Texas, and somewhere else.
Wow. Who'd have thought?
What I was trying to get at, actually kind of lost my train.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was trying to interject my point there.
That's okay.
All right.
But the main thing is he did right. He didn't even get arrested. Like in most shootings, like.
Well,
they probably watched the footage and were like,
we ain't gonna try it.
I don't think this will hold up.
This is like this dude got dead eye, dude. He just painted that dude's
Red
head.
Dead Redemption.
Yeah, it's all slow motion. That's exactly what it did. You ever play Red Dead?
Oh, yeah.
Even the first one?
First one.
So in Red Dead, there's this mode, so I can explain it to the audience, where you press in the right stick, and you can
dead eye mode.
You can it's a cowboy game, and you can paint your target, and then once you let loose, your guy just kind of locks on and hits wherever you aim.
Yeah.
So that's what he's got. He's got that dead eye. Just one shot, and he knew it. It was just hit marker, nice kill. His emblem came up. Put it back in his holster.
Right. That's right.
No, that Jack Wilson was a legend.
Yeah.
I mean, he will go down in history as what every conservative has been talking about.
Yep.
Because look, imagine a teacher, a guy walks in a room, tries that shit, and he just this teacher's appendix carrying whatever, and pulls it out, bam, done. No shooting. It was just a school fuck up. It was just call the janitor and the police. You know what I mean?
The teacher all goes over to the dead body and starts teabagging him like a
you fucked up. You tried.
Right.
He wasn't ready.
Yeah,
no, and that's what I mean. And this is the solution, clear as day. And any leftist who still is pushing this, like still pushing that having guns in these places is a bad thing.
Well, I mean, even like the New Zealand, right? The New Zealand shooting
with the mosque.
I found it bothered me because there was nobody that stopped that man.
Yeah.
But the thing that also needs to be looked at is his journal.
Yeah.
His manifesto.
Right.
His entire purpose with that.
We're looking at we're gonna watch The Joker tonight.
Yeah.
And this is something I wanted to bring up with this. You're talking about these people who effing need help like bad.
Yeah.
And
society, i.e. the state.
Yeah.
That supposedly is this so wonderful thing that helps people. failed that character. And I know it's a fictional character, but that happens in real life every day. Every single one of these crazy lone wolf shooters, there has been telltale signs.
I mean, Aztec,
of mental disorder. Aztec, yeah, that wacko. I mean, the FBI even talked to him, and they let the son of a gun go.
Well, I mean, the FBI talked to Arthur as well. If you've seen the film Joker, it'll make sense. And, it's like, really? And watching that film, it kind of messed me up because I was like, this is kind of what happened in Aztec, you know what I mean? I was like, because, this dude in Aztec, like I said, I actually ran into the guy. Little Willie Jim or whatever his name was. I know his name was like Willie or whatever.
Yeah, I know he looked at that gas station.
Yeah, he worked at that gas station. I had run into him. I bought cigarette packs from him. You know what I mean? And he was off, but I didn't think, anything
how you would shoot up a school.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was like, a dude who was maybe like high or whatever.
Right. And I even think it's hard for, it's hard for somebody to predict that, but it also even argues the point even further of a good guy being there with a gun.
Right.
Because that's just it. You
I mean, like even the FBI, right? It's impossible for somebody like one of us to, that guy's going to shoot up a school one day. It's equally as hard for the FBI to say that as well.
That's what I tell people when I do pistol classes with people, and especially if they're new and they're learning. Especially when there's husbands and wives and the ladies are there.
Right.
I ask everybody in the classroom portion of it when they're sitting down, I say, okay, so who here wakes up in the morning and knows they're going to be involved in a shooting?
Exactly. Nobody.
And of course, nobody raised their hand.
Obviously.
And I said, exactly, because nobody has a crystal ball. Mm-hmm. So it would behoove you to carry your gun every day.
Because
it you know what you're looking at? It's like driving a long way, and you start off with half a tank, and you're like, well, when it hits about empty, I'll just go ahead and go into neutral, and hopefully I'll roll into a gas station.
Yeah.
That's like literally.
Not gonna,
it's probably
Well, and bringing that further, I've also heard people say this before. Like, I heard this one guy tell me, I went downtown Farmington last night, and so I went ahead and brought my gun with me.
Why didn't you have it with you?
I said, why didn't you have it when you was uptown Farmington?
Right.
Well, it's not as bad of a neighborhood.
Just because it's not bad doesn't mean.
There
was a good example of this, and this was even in a gun-free zone. It was in Texas, and it was a restaurant. The restaurant, it was a city ordinance to not have firearms inside of buildings. And what had ended up happening is this family was eating dinner. This son of a bitch pulls up, drives his car through the window of the restaurant, jumps on tables, and starts taking pot shots at homies. Yeah. 2 of this woman's family members died because of the ordinance.
Yeah, that's what actually changed.
And you want to know what
laws of
exactly?
Texas.
And you want to know what she had to do? She reached for her purse. I mean, obviously, it's a stupid idea to have your gun in your purse. We'll get into that later. But
absolutely
she
retarded.
reached. Yeah, my mom said the same thing. But like my mom, somebody like I've been trying to ask my mom to carry. She's a frail woman. I could pick her up, hold her, and she's not moving anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want her to carry a gun. I mean, it's the most. I am a feminist. I believe that a woman should carry a gun. It's an equalizer to a man. But anyway, she was like, well, I'm not going to carry my purse. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Because what's the first thing a guy's going to grab? Your purse. Exactly.
He has a gun.
And he has a gun now. But anyway, so she was reaching for her purse in this table, and she said she sat there and she said, you know what? I left my gun out in the car.
Because she was a law-abiding citizen.
Exactly. Because this is a no-firearm zone, and I could have saved my entire family's life. Yep. He walked up and shot them point blank in the head with a shotgun on the floor. Like, literally, both of them dead. Mother and father dead. And she was the only one out of her family. Yeah. Absolutely tragic, man. Yeah. And it blows my mind because she would have been there. She would have ended it probably. Yeah. Right. Like confidently, I would say that even her having a gun would have deterred him, even to the point where
that's just it. Like I've seen time and time again, like in liquor store robbings and stuff, where like the accuracy of the good guy is atrocious.
Yeah.
But it's enough to scare the shit out of these thugs,
and they're gone.
Run off.
Yeah, they're either run off. Yeah. Have you seen that one with the security guard? He walks in. These 2 guys are like,
oh yeah, it's a toy gun.
He's like, boom, boom, and he's like, oh my god, it's a toy gun. I don't have a gun.
Yeah. So what happened is that these 2 guys were robbing a gas station and threatening the guy,
the teller,
the teller with like an airsoft gun. But the teller's not going to know any better.
Yeah.
So he gives them the money. Security guard walks in behind these 2 guys, shoots them.
Yep.
Yeah. And they're all on the ground writhing.
Am I shot? Like,
And
hell yeah,
the guy after getting shot, the guy like throws his airsoft gun. It's a toy gun. It's a toy gun.
Yeah.
And the security guard looks at him. Mine's real.
Mine's real.
And he's like, "Get your ass up!
Yeah.
Get your ass up!"
That's great.
It was a good video.
It was a really
and
fun,
it's so common now that people are like, "No, we are not gonna become victims. We're gonna become survivors."
Well, people are tired of it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember.
And here's the thing: leftists hate these survivors. They're angry that these people survived with a gun.
Yeah.
They hate them. They want them to be dead on the sidewalk. If this isn't a case of like, who is the obvious villain here?
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
I remember back in '99 when Columbine happened.
Yeah.
I was in ninth grade, and so this is like the first time we started like shutting the classrooms and locking the doors during class and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Before that, doors were always open.
Oh yeah, it didn't matter.
And I remember some teachers hearing me and a buddy of mine talking, and I said, why didn't somebody wait until those idiots had to reload,
Right.
and just tackle them?
Yeah, they were skinny.
And I was vilified for that. Well, you should be running the other direction because that's very dangerous, and you could endanger others. I said, how would I endanger others by stopping him? Right. I said, I'll take the gun away from him and shoot his stupid
That's
ass.
literally like just jumping on top of a grenade.
Yeah.
Like
this
to save
teacher,
your buddy.
This teacher had the audacity to say, you would shoot him with a gun? That's just as bad as him coming in. I said, he's the one that started it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, so it's the same problem like public schools. I mean, I'll be honest, most teachers are a little weird, like with the whole morality thing.
Most teachers are liberal.
Yeah, most teachers are really left. I don't know where that came from.
It's college.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
they have to go through college. They have to go through the indoctrination process to become indoctrinators, or else the state will not let them indoctrinate.
Yep.
So the case is, that they look at this and it's like, how like bullying is taken care of. A bully goes around, he's punching this kid, beating the hell out of him. This kid raises his fist, punches the bully back. Well, the kid on the ground who's getting bullied is now in more trouble than the bully would ever be.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what we're looking at. Like, imagine this, that a school shooter walks in and one way or another kid like gets a bat or something like from the playground and walks up behind the shooter and hits him in the head with a bat, knocking him out.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that kid would get a harsher sentence than the shooter.
Probably.
Like, that's, or at least, a harsher school sentence. You know what I mean?
I don't understand why. This bullshit, man.
Yeah, and it's broken. And I think it's just it's all a broken system. It kind of goes into, I think it's so many people are confused. Like, I keep mentioning how people are so confused on this very simple moral concept. I mean, it's a straight line. Mm-hmm. And I actually wanted to make it because it's like in the middle is the gray area. And to the right, you have the right side, and then, you have the right, and then to the left side, and I did intentionally put that on the left, I'll be honest, to be the wrong. So, like, in the gray area, you have, like, forcing people to help others. That's kind of the gray area, but that's kind of leaning towards the left because you're forcing people to do something. Mm-hmm. But under certain circumstances, that can be okay.
Yeah.
Right. But if you go into the right side, it's like giving to the homeless is a little farther on the right.
Sure.
Giving free food out, that's on the right side of morality. Killing a baby, all the way to the far left. Killing an adult, a little less far to the left, but still wrong. And stealing, wrong, so on and so forth. But also stealing is kind of like a little left of the gray area because you could be stealing because you're hungry.
What if you kill salami, though?
Killing salami.
Yeah.
Salamine? Right, so that also brings us to that. But while I'm going on about this moral thing, it's so baffling to me. I think there's a tactic in our public education system to get kids confused beyond repair of what is right and what is wrong.
Well, they've done that for years.
Well, I think the issue even boils down to the parents not taking that torch.
For sure.
I mean, I grew up and my mother, I could attribute her and probably a good portion of my father's work to being who I am, even though
Well, of course. I mean, that's very important is that people at home will raise kids and the kids will listen to their parents more than they will any teacher. It should not be the state's
job to raise kids.
Right, and as you see, it's failed. Mm-hmm. I mean, our education right now is worse than any other country on the planet.
The public school system is bullshit.
I mean, and I'm not counting the countries that don't have public education, like Africa, Kenya, you know what I mean? I'm talking about our country is lower in the first world than like any other country. And it's because our system is broken. The homework and everything else, I mean, that's another topic. But the whole moral thing, I do strongly believe, I'm trying to study into it, and I mean, there's a lot of debate. I believe that even an atheist child has a sense of morality, of right and wrong. But I do believe that the indoctrination camps that we call public education can truly beat that and contort it and really mess it up. And it only makes sense because so many of these kids are like this now. It's like simple things where it's like, right, this is right and this is wrong. They're like, well, no, this is right and that's wrong. Well, no, killing people is wrong.
It stems all the way back to Darwinism.
Right.
Because Darwinism teaches that what might be right for you not necessarily is right for me.
What do they
because
call
there
it?
Is
subjective or objective?
Yeah, there's no true morality.
All right.
Subjective means it's open to interpretation. Objective means it's
and I mean,
factual.
we're also looking at these shooters. I mean, none of them are truly Christian.
You and me, baby, you're nothing to mammals. So let's do it like they do it on the Discovery Channel.
They believe, that these shooters, for the most part, believe that they're shooting at monkeys. That's what they were taught, is that we're no different than any other animal.
Yep.
And, of course, when you've been broken down by the system that has abandoned you, then you don't care. And, that's where a lot of our kids are going. Farmington example is like ridiculously high suicide rate for minors.
Well, imagine how depressing it is to be told in the most impressionable point in your life, teenage lifehood, that you came from a fish.
Yeah.
You evolved from nothing into something, and when you die, you become
and life is meaningless.
Life is futile, and it's meaningless.
And not even like it from a nihilist standpoint, because a lot of people find.
But like, imagine how an impressionable teenager is gonna interpret that.
Yeah.
Imagine,
all your struggles don't mean nothing, and all those emotions
we're just
you
a
feel,
speck of dust floating.
All
through
those
space.
emotions you feel, pointless. It's
And
all
so-
just chemicals in the brain.
And so when you truly feel that, then there's in those lines of wrong thinking,
right.
There's nothing wrong with going in and shooting a bunch of people and killing them because it doesn't matter.
Right. I mean, and it's the same concept, like the same person who oh, well, school shooting is wrong. Oh, well, do you believe abortion is wrong? Well, no, I don't believe that's wrong. Well, then how in the ever-loving, mind-boggling fuck do you believe that shooting up a place is wrong? At least those people are sentient and can run. I mean, at least the shooter has some practice instead of just going up in there with a vacuum.
Yeah, the baby never had a chance.
And the baby never had a chance, And I'm not trying to justify anything.
Except for me, I carried appendix.
I've been arguing with a lot. I've been
skin.
I've been arguing.
My foreskin.
I've been arguing and dealing with a lot of leftists these last 3 days because the climate has gone up. I can't say anything without being scrutinized by someone on the left. And I'm like, you know what? You guys have no place to lecture me on morality.
Yeah.
I am secure in what I believe in. Because what I believe in, is right. You
Right.
know, I don't want to hurt anybody. But I do believe that those who are out for blood, that bloodlust, like to kill innocent people, in any form, not just biblical. And that's why I'm so secure in it. It's not just biblical. It's not just my religion. To lust for innocent blood is evil.
Right.
Period.
Right.
To lust for children's blood, evil. Evil.
Very evil.
And there's no getting around that. There's no subjective or objective. It's evil.
Right.
That's all the way to the left. So that's where I'm like, this is evil. And anyways, so speaking of evil, Trump got rid of an evil man here recently. Salami. Or Salamanani, whatever his name is. I can't even...
Salamani, but I call him Salami because
Salami.
He does not deserve my respect. He was a piece of shit.
Yeah, he got blown to smithereens.
Yeah.
In front of everybody.
So let's back up. Let's back
up.
So, the beginning of... Towards this week, the U.S. Embassy was attacked by Iranian militia members.
Right.
Being directed by this Salami. He has knowingly, all the way since 1982, I was doing some studies, he has been knowingly doing these things to the U.S. for that long. Planning stuff, being the cause of a thorn in our side, doing evil things to our people.
Right.
He was a big role during both Iraq wars.
He's an enemy of the United States.
Yes.
And there's no president like in the last, Obama wouldn't have done anything. Bush maybe, I don't know.
Bush, I don't know, man. I still think Bush, it was all about oil.
Yeah, Bush. I've never been a big fan of Bush.
I mean, like looking back on it, like when I was a kid, I thought he was a pretty cool guy. But
I still, I'm glad that he got in rather than Al Gore.
Right.
I invented the internet. But
Al Gore was
he's whack.
nuttier than a shithouse rat.
Yeah,
dude was
he would be just as bad as Biden.
But this is
just as bad as Biden.
I got hairy legs and they turn into pigs in the sun.
So getting back, so he's the one that sent these militia members in. So Trump did not right away. He called the powers to be. Within an hour, we had 100 Marines at the U.S. Embassy there defending our people. Mm-hmm. There was one family member, God rest his soul, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family that died at that U.S. Embassy.
Right. But at least it wasn't Benghazi.
Right. There was only one person.
That's what... Hillary, Obama, all that should have been, put under arrest for that.
Right.
And I don't normally
treason,
say that. I don't normally say that about presidents because, I don't agree with Obama, and I'm not going to sink down to the leftists and be like, just because he's this, just because he doesn't agree with me, he should be arrested. Benghazi is a proven fact of traitorism. It's treason. Mm-hmm. Yep. What they asked for help 24 hours in advance. They were like, crap is about to blow up here. We need help. And Obama and the Clintons.
And then once everything went down, it lasted 13 hours. Within 1 hour, we had everything under control.
Right.
With this one, not Benghazi. With this one. And the only reason why it lasted 13 hours is because 2 ex-Navy SEALs went against orders, went
AWOL,
and defended our embassy for freaking forever until they finally died.
Yep.
Defending that. Which those men are heroes.
Yeah, absolutely. That was Benghazi.
That was Benghazi.
Right. And what's really sad? The surviving people who were, they had to leave the main embassy where shit really popped off, but they defended another, it was like PMCs. Because that's the only guys who were willing to do it.
Yeah.
They even they just did it out of the goodness of their heart. They weren't even being paid to do it.
Yeah, they were like, F you guys, we're going anyways.
Right, and there was no evac from the Americans. There was no help from them.
Right.
It was all mercs.
But this one was totally opposite.
Yeah.
Our Marines were there, 100 of them. There was a special operations unit that showed up. Everything was under control. 12 choppers. That's what brought in all the Marines.
Yeah, that's it. That's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, I don't know about you, but even with who I am, if I saw 12 choppers in the sky, I'd be intimidated.
12 choppers, and I'm sure they were all door gunners.
Yeah,
that thing was ready to pop off, bro.
Yeah. So you got that minigun out the side. Come on.
So they did that, but then the Ayatollah, Grand Ayatollah of Iran, he has to one-up Trump since he did that. He's all, Trump isn't going to do anything.
Right, as I have up here, his quote, you can't do anything.
Yeah. And so Trump doubles down and says, oh, you know what there, Skippy? I can. So the next morning, Salami gets a rocket shoved up his ass.
This man is dead.
That's right.
No, Salami got owned. And, that's what we're saying. We have kind of a renewed...
The salami got cut.
Yeah.
Salami got porked.
Yeah, we're looking at something that Trump promised, and it's coming to fruition. We're looking at something we haven't seen since Reagan. You mess with us, you're going to get bit.
Yep.
Don't tread
Words
on
of
me.
war become acts of war.
Yeah,
right.
Words of war become acts of war. And, you can't do anything or anything like that. Anybody's, Obama was friends with these people. It was very clear. We're sorry for what America ever did to you guys. It's all fine.
Didn't we even supply them armaments?
Yes. I mean, the FSA and everything else are...
Well, that was part of the Benghazi thing.
Yeah.
We were actually... The CIA was running guns during that time over there.
Really?
And that's the only reason why we had so many guys that were like mercs over there. Is we were doing some weird, gun running thing that Obama was involved in. That all of a sudden we never did hear anything else about. And it was just, it was just nice stuff.
Right, just like Fast and Furious,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then all the freaking money that I saw a meme this morning. It was funny too. Showed the pallet of money that Obama sent the Iranians.
Right.
Said Obama sent the Iranians this Trump sent them this, and it was a cruise missile.
Right. Well, I mean, I would like to almost like, and this was something I was going to write, was like, make other countries scared of us again.
Yeah.
You know, that's where that was when we were great, was
Right.
when people were like, oh shit,
Well,
America's coming.
People
you know?
like salami
Yeah.
only understand one thing, and that's fear.
Yeah.
If you put yourself, it's just like.
Well, I mean,
Have
that's
you ever watched-
predators.
Have you ever watched like a movie where the new guy gets put in the prison, like Shawshank Redemption? Have you guys seen Shawshank Redemption?
I don't know.
So Shawshank Redemption, he gets convicted of his wife's murder, which he didn't do, but so he gets put in a really bad prison in the South back in like the 50s, and so he's the new guy. So they're gonna screw with him. They want to see how much he can take. Until he backs it up and says, no, I'm not going to take this. And that's what the terrorists do. They want to poke the bear to see how far they can get.
Yeah, and they've been poking the bear for good. Hell, they've been poking the bear since Bush. You know what I mean? And it's different. You know, me being a fairly young man myself at 22, and IT being a young man at 18. It's different to actually wake up and have a president be like, "No, we're not going to be bullied anymore."
Yeah.
This was the bullied kid on the ground punching back.
It reminds me of Reagan.
Yeah, it really does. You know, we're coming back.
Yeah.
You know, this is America. Don't catch you slipping up. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I can apply Trump. I mean, well, even the whole situation. I mean, imagine this authoritarian regime being as tight as it is. You know, from what I've heard, even protesters there have been gunned down in cold blood for promoting concepts of democracy. And imagine how liberating it is to know that this man who ruled with an iron fist is no longer on this earth.
Right.
Or can be tangible
well, I mean,
anymore.
he's on this earth, but I mean, a piece of him's over here, a piece of him's over there. You know what I mean?
think a piece of him is in Sudan. Like,
right? A dude, like Assad woke up today and there's like a hand flying, and he's like, "What the hell is that?"
And I think it's good to know that even those people can sort of rest assured that that this sort of authoritarian regime is going to be restricted. It's going to be
that's just
snuffed out. It's the flame that's going to be snuffed out.
I don't know why this just came to thought. It's kind of a awkward, just kind of off topic deal. But how great it would be to have a missile that like scatters 1,000 little speakers out before it lands. And it's 1,000 little speakers is just playing the American anthem, and all they hear, what the hell is that? And then after it's gone off, it's still going, oh, sick. And then, it's like this rising cloud, and you just hear the American anthem. It's like, you know who it is. And even then, just the bomb itself. I mean, again, something else that Trump did that I really liked was use the Moab. The Moab against ISIS.
Oh, well, against ISIS, I knew that. I didn't know.
He did.
I was like, damn, against his
He
son.
wanted this guy to be dead.
He wanted him and the entire block that he was on to be gone.
Right.
Is that the fuel air explosion? Is that the Moab?
The Moab, the mother
it's-
of all bombs.
yeah,
it's just basically a shitload of TNT.
I think it's the largest non-nuclear
weapon.
bomb that is in the world right now.
shakes
Have
the
you
earth,
ever
yeah.
seen a fuel air explosion bomb?
Those things are scary. Aren't they against like the Geneva now?
I don't know.
Well, basically they and then they turn it into this
It
cloud.
atomizes this cloud and
Yeah.
it detonates.
And then like a gas bomb.
It's like 6 or 7.
So
football
it
fields.
explodes above the ground, right?
Well, it sprays out fuel like several hundred yards
And just
and then
ablaze.
detonates.
Yeah. And
That's
they
cool.
that's the bomb. That's the fuel it shoots
That
out.
sounds awful, but it sounds cool.
right.
The fire actually isn't what usually gets you. It's the shockwave.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say.
Well, I mean, they used to have that in Mercenaries too, World
Really?
in Flames. Yeah, and it was a weird bomb because it was silent because it would come down, and then it would, and then, and that was that.
Oh.
Yeah, boom. Which is again, really interesting. We're actually speaking about the Geneva Convention. We were talking about some really funny stuff with that. Either way, it's nice to get back on topic. Trump really showed the world today that he's willing to stand for America, and I appreciate him for that.
Yep.
However, we have our criticisms on Trump. We're not saying that he's a godsend or anything by any means.
Gallagher.
but it's an awesome thing to actually see us like as America.
I do
again.
have a very, very recent criticism of Trump.
The smoking.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I have Eddie Gallagher.
You have Eddie Gallagher.
You heard of Eddie Gallagher?
I guess I haven't.
Who's
He
Eddie
was
Gallagher?
he was a SEAL who was a fucking madman from what I heard. Like he was batshit. He was there to kill. He was deployed in.
Oh, he's the guy that he let go.
Trump, yeah. I
have a
criticize. I criticize it heavily.
Right.
He was accused by the military police of committing manslaughter because there was this ISIS teenager who was captured, and they had dropped a bomb on this barn basically where they knew that they were held, and they had retrieved this suspect out. Eddie Gallagher had driven, I think it was something like 20, 30 miles to get, and he was saying on the radio, "This guy's mine, this guy's mine, this guy's mine."
Right.
And so he pulled up there, and there's helmet cam footage of them looking down, and they see this guy. He's obviously concussed. I mean, he's responsive, but he's concussed. A bomb was just dropped on his head.
Yeah.
And Eddie Gallagher comes here, opens up his kit, and then you can see him put his hand on his leg, and you can hear him kind of scream, obviously, because it looks like he's trying to give medical help. And then the helmet cam cuts off. Well, after that point, somehow there was a knife wound in his neck, 2 stab wounds to the side of the neck. And they have no idea how it got there, but everybody that was there, all 6 soldiers, said Eddie Gallagher pulled out a knife and stabbed him twice in the neck. Right there in front of him, all 4 of the guys. And they said that several times Eddie had, instead of, like, the guys, they said, when they were out on normal missions, he said they would shoot maybe, they would get 2 or 3 rounds off, maybe to scare someone off or even to eliminate a threat. Eddie was going through burning a mag a day. He was just dumping rounds. There was one time even where a designated marksman had said that Eddie had purposely shot 2 female women. And he said, I gave a warning shot, when all 3 of the other people that were with him in that mission said he just opened fire and killed 2 women. I mean, he was just, he's batshit crazy. I mean, yes, I will admit this was from the Washington Post, but from what I saw, it made logical sense.
Yeah.
They turned off the helmet cam, and there was no other evidence. So from that point where you saw this man on the ground, perfectly fine, nothing on his neck, nothing. There was no blood. There was blood coming out of his leg. That was where the blood was located. And then guess what? There was pictures afterwards. He has a bandage on his neck, and he has a tube coming out of his lungs because he's having trouble because he got stabbed in the freaking throat.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind, man, because what had happened is on the trial day when it was happening, all 6 of the members, Eddie pulled out a knife and killed him. And we sat there and we posed a picture with this man's dead corpse. All of them.
See, I didn't even hear about that one.
Oh.
I heard that he was in trouble because he got like a picture with like a dead.
That's the man he killed.
Oh, I remember
Eddie
that.
Gallagher.
Yeah.
He was holding his head up under, and he was holding his head
What does
up.
that have to do with Trump?
He pardoned him.
Oh, he pardoned him?
Pardon him. Nothing is on his record, and he's going to continue to serve. He's going to get full. That's
I'm
my
sorry,
biggest.
he's ISIS. I don't give a fuck.
No, but like the thing that appalls me is that all 6 of these men said yes. And you want to know what happened? Eddie Gallagher brought his family in. All of them sat right there, and the man who kept saying yes until the very beginning, now on trial day, said, "I stabbed the man in the throat." When he was given full immunity in the court, and he said, "I stabbed the man in the throat."
Yeah.
He said that he said I held my hand over his breathing tube and killed him.
Yeah.
Is what he said. Instead of the knife wound killing him,
Yeah.
he said, "Well, Eddie might have stabbed him once. He stabbed him maybe once in the throat, but I was the one who murdered the man, and because he brought his family in, and after that his hands were washed, and because he was given diplomatic immunity from, he was given his 5th Amendment privileges, where nothing he could say.
That's interesting, though. I mean,
that's my biggest criticism with Trump right now. That really frustrated me. Yes, he was a piece of shit. I can agree with you there. Like, yes, I don't feel bad that he's dead. I just feel bad that this man who ended up killing somebody and could have gotten punished for it, and it's what it's going to do is it's going to create mutiny within the SEALs. Because guess what? This one guy in your team decides he gets immunity, and guess what? I killed him. Why? He didn't kill him, though. Everybody else around you is saying, well, this mother hubber right here killed him.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to come out and talk about things like that when, a child was just murdered in the street for no apparent reason. I mean, yes, it's to say that,
The thing is, there's awful things that happen in
exactly.
war.
I mean, I know it's war.
I don't know. That's
Sorry,
weird.
I have no problem.
I just find it appalling to me that it's the psychological thing behind it.
It's like the film where the dude, Full Metal Jacket, was just shooting out the door gunner at like women and children and shit. It's.
I'm sorry, but I laugh at that. I know it's not.
I know.
I laugh at that part. He's all.
Yeah.
Those who run are VC. Those who stand still are well-disciplined VC. And then, of course, the guy's character that's the reporter guy, He's
Joker.
What, you Joker? What about women and children? What do you mean? How can you shoot women and children? Oh, that's easy. Just don't lead them as much.
Right. And, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think there's a bit of honor, especially in, like, the modern conflict. You know, Vietnam was a hellhole. You know, in that shit, I don't blame people for, like, losing.
That's the thing. I mean, they didn't have any kind of mental help. And that's another thing with these...
Well, I mean, if I was serving with a SEAL, I think I would be comfortable in saying, like, dude, don't do that. Like, you know, shooting two women.
He was their leader.
I think I'd, like, be comfortable in, like, having a problem with it and being like, yo, this shit's fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You should watch it. It's an interesting...
It's an interesting kind of thing, but I understand at the same time that war is war. But I think that, you know, Americans should be held to some standard. Not in the sense of, like, you know, don't shoot until shot at, because that's just stupid as hell.
I agree, that's
like, I mean, if someone...
But when someone's bleeding through the leg, I don't think it's... Especially when you could have gotten intel out of them.
Yeah.
Why didn't they get intel? That doesn't make any fucking sense to me. You could have literally got intel out of this guy. Obviously, he wasn't talking because a bomb was dropped on his head, but, like, at the same token,
do you remember that whole deal where...
Well, if that is true. That is pretty...
Do you remember, like, the journalists... There was no proof that this group of guys had, like, any firearms, but the Apache helicopter, like, saw their cameras and took them as RPGs and just lit them up. Do you remember that whole ordeal?
I don't think so.
There's a video on YouTube, you can find it, of this. It's a camera of, like, the Apache screen, and they just light these dudes up. And, like, one of these journalists, it was an American journalist, I believe, or something, he's, like, crawling, and they light him up again, even though it was, like...
Oh, yeah, it was a friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it was, like...
Blue on blue.
Yeah, well, there was that one where, like, a British battalion got wrecked by an AC-130, but this one I'm talking about was, like, a journalist.
Oh, okay.
Where he was actually with, like, a group of, you know, not exactly enemies, but, like, you know, just kind of like neutrals and talking about how it was, and they just got lit up. And, you know, that sort of thing happens in war.
That's the fog of war. I don't necessarily... I mean,
it would be hard.
It's a tragedy, but... Unfortunately,
shit happens.
I mean, during war,
it's not like the confusion. It's not like the guy knew it. I mean, you cannot prove that the guy was like, I just want.
Well, how are you going to prove that he didn't know? Like, that's literally impossible.
I mean, with the guy you're talking about, that's a little rough what he did.
He was on.
I think he should be held to some accountable. You know,
but
I think the military police should investigate.
Well, there's nothing.
Yeah. I did hear that the SEAL teams wanted to get rid of him.
Well, they wanted to take away his trident. The Navy sector themselves wanted to take it away, but Trump demanded that they let him keep the trident.
He was going to retire soon, anyways. But
that's why they wanted to take his trident, was because I mean he had all these. They just wanted to take it because they didn't want him to represent him.
Right,
I mean,
but it's an interesting. I mean, whatever.
It's a debacle.
At least, you know, I mean,
you're always allowed to disagree with the president.
Well, that's just it. Yeah. And I disagree with what he did with the bump stocks. I think it's stupid.
Yes, and so didn't he do something about suppressors?
He talked about it. He hasn't done nothing with it.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
Yeah, that's a bit scary.
He mentioned it, and then it just didn't go anywhere else.
Well, we're sitting here. We actually were talking about it before we began the podcast. In at least New Mexico, is it like nationwide now? This new smoking regulation?
I think it's federal law.
It's federal law. Now,
I don't know if there's a grandfather
18-year-olds can no longer buy cigarettes.
Yep.
That frustrates me.
That is dumb. I mean, maybe I'm a little biased because I smoked at 18, but
I just find it. I mean, it's even the argument down to I can go and I mean, right now, not so much a drac, but I can go and stab
a kid in the neck for my country. That's to say. You know,
that's true.
You know, I can
go and kill someone overseas consensually. Obviously, I'm going to have a draft. I'm not saying draft, but I can go and do that consensually. I can buy a firearm because, according to the state, I'm old enough. I'm an adult. Therefore, I can buy a rifle. Why can I not smoke a cigarette?
Yeah,
you can go sexual intercourse.
As you are right now at 18 years old, you baby, right?
I'm a fetus.
You're a fucking baby, right? According to the federal government.
Right.
Guess what? If I wanted to, and I got the government, and we signed some papers, I could film you with your dick out for a porn shoot.
I was gonna say you could be one of the 18 naked cowboys.
18 naked cowboys.
Yeah, I could film you for a porn shoot, and put that on the internet for the whole world to see. And
I'm not allowed to smoke while
you're
doing
not
it.
allowed to smoke afterwards and like contemplate what the hell you're doing with life. You got to do that cold turkey. You know what I mean?
Go cold turkey.
Yeah.
I can't have a cigarette and think about my life choices.
Right. I mean, the good thing I think is that possession. Like possession is state based. So
right.
I know in New Mexico it's illegal. It's illegal for you to purchase, but it's not illegal for me to possess.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Where'd you get those cigarettes? I don't know.
And that's always been the case.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
even
that's
before
been
the case.
But
Like,
I find it frustrating that it's not so much that there's nothing to look up to. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I know smoking's bad for you. You know what I mean? And things of that nature. It's just the fact that the state says that I can consent to medical procedures. I could cut my fucking dick off right now, and medically. I could remove my penis if I wanted to.
Well, shit, they got kids doing
I know
that.
that they got kids doing that, but like, I mean, think about it. I can consent to
yeah.
insurance payments. I can consent to. I mean, I am.
you
an
could
adult.
go into debt, bro.
I could go into debt,
Yeah.
but I can't smoke
Like
a cigarette. while doing it.
lifelong unfixable debt. Like you could be like our government, where you'll never pay it off.
never pay it off.
You know,
but I can't smoke a cigarette.
you can't smoke a cigarette.
That's the thing.
You
that
could
just
get
really
your legs
bothers
blown
me.
off.
Right, in a war.
In a war before you can smoke a cigarette.
Yep.
Before you can take a drink of alcohol.
Yep.
You know, and that's like crazy to me. Like there was this comic, Cyanide and Happiness, or rather leftist group of people, but they make good comedy. They have a depressing comic week, and it hit me. It was this dude in a wheelchair, both of his legs are gone, and he's in a bar, and a guy asked, "Hey, could I buy you a drink?"
I'm not old enough.
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, well, I'm a vet." "Oh yeah, let me buy you a drink." "I'm not old enough."
Yeah.
What the hell?
Well,
You know, that's
and
broken.
Also, with that, since you're an adult now, you're going to be going out into the workforce soon.
Mm-hmm.
The way the laws are right now, the nation doesn't allow you to protect yourself.
No, I know I can't.
Because you cannot buy a pistol yet.
I can't even. I don't think you can conceal carry until 19 here in the state of New Mexico.
You can't conceal
right?
carry until 21.
Till
You can carry a pistol in your vehicle at 19.
Really?
If somebody else buys it for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I can't buy the ammo or the physical
Yeah,
firearm.
I remember doing that. So the way I understood the laws at the time at 19 is you had to have a written permission from like your parents at 19 saying that they allow you to carry this and you can carry it in your vehicle.
Right.
But you can't even do that yet.
Yeah, I know. That's ridiculous to me.
It's such, and we're talking about that in our
I'm
phone
allowed
call.
to have one in war.
Yeah.
We're talking,
Get you an AR-15.
Yeah, you can
Right.
shoot people in war. You can get shot.
I'm
in
gonna
war.
conceal carry it.
It's just
I'm gonna open
so-
carry an AR.
How did this pass?
Yeah.
Did anybody get?
Like a clown, dude.
Did anybody get to vote on this? Like I think
that's the thing. I think it's an executive order.
Yeah.
I don't know how
What
far.
the
it is.
hell?
That's what I was going to say when I said, I disagree with Trump.
Yeah.
Is it an
So he
executive
did
order?
that.
He signed it in.
Okay.
Fucking.
Well, did he
tyrant.
do it from Did he do it from Congress or was it an executive order? Like I think it was from Congress.
I think it was from Congress.
Well, the thing that also happened was,
but
it was
I still
buried.
think that should have been something that we the people
Yeah,
wanted.
should have voted on.
Because that affects us. Trump doesn't
And
smoke.
me,
Yeah.
Obama's
I don't
probably
know.
a little angry. He smoked.
I actually think,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm more along the lines, if you're going to do it one way like that, okay, so I think that military age should be 21 then.
Yeah.
Drinking age 21, pistol 21, rifle 21.
Make everything. Why is there inconsistency?
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
Why is there
Age of
this-
consent, 21. You're
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
21.
Yeah.
You are an adult in the state.
And you know what's
going
gonna
to
happen?
United States of America. is
In
21.
another 10 years, it's not gonna be 21 anymore. It's gonna be like 25.
Well,
Right.
it just keeps going. Well,
It's-
and it's done like that. It's actually, that is historically true.
Yeah.
How many of our grandparents, like say, I was married when I was 14 years old. My great-grandmother was like 14 or 15 when she got married.
Start
Yeah.
pumping out babies, bro.
Yeah.
But that was just how it was back
Had
then.
a whole ass family by the age of 17.
Nowadays, that would be pedophilia.
Right.
Because her husband was way older than her.
Right. And I
Despite
mean,
them-
don't misunderstand me. Like, I
Right.
think 18 is perfect for
Right.
that. Like, I make that clear.
But
I
I
think-
Joseph was a pedo.
right. And I mean, even my grandma,
Mary.
Right.
like 18 is
virgin.
like 18 is the perfect age,
Right.
for consent. Like, I mean,
It's a good,
some
it's a
people
good
can
middle
argue
ground.
like 16, and I understand
Right.
what they're saying.
It's a
but I
good
mean,
middle
some
ground,
people
though.
are still like
Yeah.
stupid at 16.
How many people are still stupid at 18?
How many
Well,
people
yeah,
are
but at least
stupid
at 18,
34?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but we're getting into it's like, well, where do you stop? I think 18
Yeah.
is just.
I think it's a
great.
sweet spot.
It's the
yeah.
sweet spot, and they thought about it. There was thought put into that.
Right. Well, I mean, even think about the voting age be? I don't think any of us in this room can think about the voting age being 21 years old. When you're 18 years old, yet you can go to a war that you have no say in.
Yeah.
You know
Well, that's
what I
just
mean?
it. If you're gonna, you would have to bring if we're gonna change stuff, we should bring it all up because you shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't be drafted into war or go to war if you can't vote.
Well, look, we're gonna be getting to the point where you can't drive till 21.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's just one of those things that, I mean, it's just going to keep getting worse. That's the, there was a word for it. I'll find it later. It's not give an inch, give a mile. It's actually like a psychological
Well, and I think
concept.
that's contributed, that thought process has contributed to the whole soy boy culture.
Right.
Because these young men are not being expected to grow up and grow a pair.
It's like nobody... Yeah, it's like nobody is allowed to do anything because, well, you're just not ready for that.
Yeah.
You know, you'll shoot your eye out, kid. You know what I mean? It's the whole movie, but for grown-ass men.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like,
I always tell people, it's like, you do realize that George Washington, like, owned his own survey company at 16, went into Indian country and lived by himself and ran a business doing surveying by himself.
Yeah.
So, in all aspects, at 16, he was a grown-ass man.
Well, yeah, and you see that, but I mean,
And
also
like,
in those
these
days,
are-
you know,
these were different.
35 was pretty geezerly back in those
That's
days.
true.
You're pretty much going to die.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the same time, you know, I think that the graduation of like, well, let's start putting an age limit on things has resulted in people treating people like children until they reach that age.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, at that point when they've reached that age, and then we're just like, cut it off, now you're an adult, they're going to be a little confused.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's something that, like, Europe, if you notice something, too, how Europeans drink, now, don't get me wrong, the United Kingdom has a terrible alcoholic problem right now, but most Europeans, that I've met that drink are not like the American drunk.
Yeah.
And I think that was because they've been drinking since they were 12.
Right.
You know, they'd go down to the store and they either jip or whatever, because possession isn't like a big deal down there. A 12-year-old could walk by a cop drinking a beer, and the cop's going to be like, you know, whatever. Yeah. Even today, that'd be kind of mostly the case. I mean, I know it's like 16 in like the UK, right?
So it's something like
most
that.
places, yeah.
It's usually if you look old enough, here you go.
From what I understand in Germany, like if you're old enough to like stand up over the bar.
Yeah. If I can see your eyes comfortably, you're fine. Yeah.
And I mean, I look at that, and I think there is a bit of a maturity that comes with that, of being like, the chains are off, you figure yourself out. You know, we're not going to nanny you and be like, no. You know, because, you know, honestly, what gets a kid, you know, you can have a nanny that's like, no, that'll give you cavities. But the kid really will learn once he gets a cavity to stop eating so much and to brush his teeth. Yeah. You don't need to force him to, because he will learn at one point.
Well, that's like the dad that catches the son like chewing or something, and so he tells him, "All right, here's a can.
Yeah,
I want you to chew the whole can."
It was like when my dad found out I was smoking.
You're not gonna stop till you chew the whole can. And he gets sick and he throws up. Just remember that.
Yeah. And it works, you know. And if the kid, you know, usually with most fathers, if the kid like perseveres and somehow doesn't throw up after that, the dad's like, well, damn, okay, you know, go ahead.
Yeah, if you're man enough to do that, I guess, you know.
You know, and, you know, leave that to your own discretion, parents. You know, don't take that as like moral advice. It's your kid. You know, we're not dictating you on how to raise your kid.
Give your children tobacco.
Are you smoking yet? This message sponsored by American Spirits.
Right. Sponsored by Marlboro.
This message back to you by the Bar Barrel Man. I took another puff.
Yeah, so...
Cigarette shake.
Yeah, so it's just, it's bizarre to me. I mean, yeah, I'm a full-grown man now. I never, you know, as a kid, it feels like forever to get to this point. Like, when I turned 18...
Yeah, but now you're here, you're like, well... Damn it, I want to go back.
Yeah, I want to go back. And honestly, I wish I could have drank at 15. Yeah. I wish I could have gone to, like, a bar with my dad, you know, at 15. Like, something like that would have been awesome. Talk about a bonding experience. Now, given, you know, I think a lot of problems could come from it, but I think, honestly...
Until that happens, until we see what the problems are, we're not going to know.
Right, and I mean, you can actually study the UK right now, and like I said, they have an alcohol problem.
Look at Vancouver. I mean, look, they don't have any laws on drugs.
Right.
And there's
even San Francisco, a lot of drug use is a misdemeanor. So people, you can walk by and see people.
Right. But as I was saying about Europeans, when they drink, like the Europeans I've met, like my South African brother-in-law and such on like that, they don't go retarded like a lot of Americans do.
Anybody is going to have those 5 guys that are just going to be loud and drunk out of their mind.
And like start breaking shit and fighting and all that.
Well, that happens in America.
The San Francisco thing, though, I want to add. So in Vancouver and different places in Europe, like they have like open drug, like you can take whatever. Mm-hmm. The thing is, in Europe, they ain't gonna save you ass with that. What's the stuff?
Narcan.
They ain't gonna Narcan you.
Really?
They can't afford to.
You screw up, you dead.
Right.
So, the dummies get weaned out.
Right.
Here in the U.S., we save the dummies over and over and over and over and over.
And it's really draining on us. You know, me personally being well familiar with
Narcan
healthcare.
is expensive.
Yeah, me being.
It's like $35. No, it's like $112, I think, per shot.
Yeah.
But it's like a pack of 2 is like $112, but with like an insurance copay, it's like $30 on your end.
Yeah, right. And still, it's like this whole Medicare and everything we have. It's a system full of leeches, and the leeches have sucked it dry.
Right.
Like it's barely going right now.
Well, let's say like, at what point is the line drawn? Like, do they like pull up like a background check? Like, because the thing with my mother, she's taking Suboxone, right? And Suboxone, and she was addicted to opiates at one point. I mean, this is public knowledge. I mean, I'm sure she doesn't.
Well, I mean,
her struggle was my struggle, and so she's taking something right now. It's something called Suboxone, also formerly known as Zubsolv. There's different names for it. Okay. But when you take Suboxone, it gives the user the lack of withdrawal symptoms because it's kind of like a quasi-opiate. Okay. But also it blocks the receptors on the brain that give the feeling of pleasure when you take an opiate. If she pops two opiates, like 2 pills, nothing. She won't feel anything. She will not feel anything so because it blocks.
She can't. She don't get no pleasure from it.
Exactly. So there's no way for her to fulfill that craving, but it does that for her automatically, so she feels fine.
That's cool.
The thing is if I take a strip, I could OD. Because it's meant for people who are addicted, right? And if I take it, I could OD. What happens? What happens if they decide that I'm dead? I am no longer a part of this podcast because, well, even say that my dog got it, right? That's why they recommend that she carry Narcan because say that a young kid gets in her purse, right? Oh, what's this? I'm going to chew on this piece of paper, right? Yeah. It comes in a little paper and it dissolves on your tongue like one of those breath mints. You just put it under your tongue and it dissolves. And that's it. It's in your bloodstream. It's in you. Right. What if a kid just chews on the piece of paper and swallows it and suddenly he's foaming at the mouth on the floor? What happens? He's out. You know what I mean? That's why Narcan exists. I mean, specifically for instances like that. Like, and I know it's rough, but man, like, I feel pity for people like that.
Well, this whole problem is it's easily solved by private healthcare.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's what you can afford, and that kind of gets rid of a lot of the moral dilemma. Because it's like, well, if you're gonna mess yourself up, make sure you can afford to fix it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And so like with right now the social programs. We have dummies being saved over and over again, and people who aren't dumb who actually fall victim. Like say that kid who got into his mom's purse and stuck that in his mouth, and now he's foaming at the mouth. Well, the mom, and everything, can't get the help she needs from that social program. Which actually, I thought about it. There's no real problem and this is why socialism doesn't work, is because it only works when there's not a single leech in the system.
Right.
Because as long as there's one leech, it's going to break.
Right.
That's a damn good point, because you could even put it at the concept, well, we already have 5 ambulances out saving these other people who have had the same ailment that your child has, but they were doing it consensually. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you could even see it there where you have the leeches and they're drawing away where it's needed. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
And that's what we're running into is this exact problem. Right. So the UK and Canada and everywhere else, it's just like standing in line for bread, except it's to survive is to get help at a medical center, at the emergency room. Yep. But also something here that's interesting with it, dang it, where was I going with this? Trying to jog my memory. The emergency room, say a dummy goes in, he keeps going in. Oh yes, Canada, UK, and everything. They actually have different qualifications decide what level of socialism you're gonna get, like how much, what the quality of socialism is. So like organ transplants, you have cancer, but they found out you smoked, so you get put at the back of the line for the donations.
Well, and that happened here when the Obama administration was doing their stuff. He even said, sometimes I can't do my Obama voice. I'm really sad. Sometimes it's better to give grandma the pill than pay for the operation.
Right. I mean, what I was getting into, it's like, so Canada, UK, they found that they have to put people in different sectors, which again, it's all immediately like kind of contradictory to the whole socialist no class idea, you know, but that's exactly what they have to do. And again, the private industry can solve that.
Right.
You know, where it's like, well, okay, I smoked, so socialist programs aren't going to get me a donation as fast as I need it. So I'm going to go ahead and fork some bucks over to a private industry. They're going to get me something I need to survive.
Right.
That's where the private, you know,
the private industry shines. You know, but I think another thing also, I don't think I've ever seen a bill before I get treated. Like even when I dislocated my arm, I didn't know how much it would cost.
They don't.
Yes, I have. All right, I'm going to preface this with I have fantastic health care. I didn't pay a dime to get my arm broken. I didn't do anything. I got the full treatment.
The emergency room, you won't. Now, if
okay.
you go in to like urgent care,
will they do that?
You will need to show your proof of insurance.
But will they give me will they let me know, like, imagine going to an auto body shop and them doing everything. They replace your tires, they air them up, and they change the oil, they change all the fluids. Soon you're $1,000 in the hole. Yeah. Where did this come from? Well, that's just how much we charge because of what we did. Why didn't I know this before? I mean, it makes sense that you'd be shown like what.
So when I broke my arm when I was younger, I broke it here, here, and here. Damn. And I taped it up real tight because it was way late, and I didn't want to pay the extra bucks for the emergency room. I knew it was broke.
Right. Whatever.
They're not going to be able to do nothing to me.
Right.
I knew the cast place wasn't going to be open.
Yeah, orthopedics. Yeah.
So I taped it to my body. I slept as best as I could. Called the boss the next morning and said, "Hey,
I broke my arm.
I'm not coming in today. I'm gonna go to urgent care." So I go to urgent care because I wasn't for sure if I needed a referral, which I would have. I did. And so they took X-rays right there and said, "Oh yeah, it's definitely broke."
I could have told you that.
We're gonna take these X-rays. We'll send them over to orthopedics. Go over there. So I go over there, and see at urgent care I did pay a $30 copay.
Yeah.
Right there, after they got done with that. $30.
Right.
And then I paid a $30 copay
at the orthopedics
place. Right. But that's all I paid for my broken arm, $60.
Right, and you're looking at
because
that's the private, that's the private industry taking hold. And I mean, so a lot of people are like, well, how are we going to afford that? It's like, get insurance, and you know.
I think insurance is a beautiful thing. You all right? Okay. I think insurance is a beautiful thing because I mean, I don't like having it be forced because that puts the burden of rainy days on the person.
Right.
But when I like the idea of insurance because A, it's privatized, and B, well, I automatically consent to paying $500, you know, every month or so. Which I mean, I know that's ungodly. You wouldn't believe our insurance rate.
Here's something that really
I pay $600 a month.
Yeah, my I think we pay $1,000.
Here's something that messes with me. So you understand like how I pay into, you know, the healthcare tax every paycheck. Yeah. I can't get any of that because my pay grade is a little too out of the, you know, it's higher than what's required, which is like you have to be dirt poor to receive care. And I'm just like, what the hell? Yeah. I'm like, I paid more money into, like, if I could get all the money I've put into that tax alone back, hell, I'd be good. I'd be set. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm just like, really? You know, I can't get any of that. So I have to talk to my company. My company's like, okay, well, you know, you work full time, you work overtime, you can have this benefit. And then, you know, they have to still, you know, they take quite a bit out of my paycheck. It's like 40-something bucks. I don't know. But it's ridiculous even at that. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, well, I pay into this system. How come I pay more than, you know, a lot of people put into this system. How come I can't reap any of that award that I'm paying for?
Right.
And this is where the whole leech thing comes in, where it's like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? I mean, if you're going to have socialism, you got to have it for everybody. You know what I mean? And that's why it breaks.
Right.
So you can't be selective with socialism.
Yeah, it has to be.
Or else you don't, you don't have socialism.
you don't
you
have
have something.
Well, and that's why, so with the healthcare plan too, so the healthy people end up paying for the sick people.
Right.
And it's like you're punishing me because I take care of my body, I exercise, I eat right.
I work.
Yeah.
You're punishing me for having a job, and the same works
Yeah.
for like food stamps and stuff.
But I
It's
mean,
like,
you can even look at it like this. Like, you can even look at the goodwill of people in a good majority. Like, I believe that there was a kid around here. I don't remember exactly who his name was, but I remember there being a fundraiser that Papa John's hosted. Every
Right.
portion of the pizza would go towards said person's cancer treatment.
Yeah,
Right.
And it's like, well, you can always more often than not you can rely on the goodness of people.
Right.
And I think that it becoming non-voluntary is inherently evil.
Right,
Because at that point,
forcing people to help others
Right.
at gunpoint, like, if I didn't pay that tax,
evil.
that's evil.
if I didn't pay that tax, if I said, no, I kind of want to keep that
Yeah.
money because I'm not reaping any of that benefit,
yeah.
I want to kind of keep my money because I'm not benefiting from giving into that.
Guess
Well,
what?
Yeah, guess what? I get a knock on the door.
It's just like the school tax, okay? So my kids are homeschooled,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, you
But
still
I
pay-
still
yeah,
pay
exactly.
into that public school
Uh-huh.
tax. Why can't I take that money and help pay for my kids' curriculum?
Right.
Exactly. There was a talk about that, about school selectiveness. So the parents could consent, like you would still pay tax even if, but you would the money that you paid would go towards homeschool.
Well, see, I wouldn't have a
towards
problem
boarding
with that.
school.
Like,
I know exactly, and I'm like, why isn't it like that? Like,
Right.
I don't understand the concept of somebody taking something from me, like involuntarily, obviously. But it's like, if you have to take it, I at least want to know where it goes.
well, see, that's
You
just
know
it.
what I mean?
So this is coming off of my paycheck.
Yeah.
I'm losing it.
You
and
see,
I still
they
have
can't
to
do
pay
that because
for the
Yeah,
curriculum.
exactly.
they can't do that because all the evil shit that they're doing would get like no money.
Right. Exactly.
Everyone would
But-
be like, I kind of want to stop, funding, your
Well, that's
blood
just
loss.
it.
Right.
That's just it. There would be a whole lot more homeschool kids,
Yeah.
and they do not like that. The state of New Mexico tried to screw us over last year.
Really?
They tried to force us to have all this other like regulated crap, like to start like writing into the state exactly what we were doing, all this other crap. And it's like, no, it's not you guys.
1984 type
So
shit.
yeah, so we actually there's a homeschool group together. It's forget the name of it,
I don't know, I
but
did
it's a
switch
conglomerate.
Yeah.
The law firm actually represents us. We pay like $100 a year or something like that, and they represent us.
That's
and
good.
they went to the state and
Gave them the finger.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I mean, it's none of their damn business.
I think
All the way down. Look, the only other government until our government started doing it that did it, like, if your kid didn't show up to school for like 3 days straight, they would knock on your door with threatening to like take that child
Well,
away from you.
that's just recently.
Was Nazi Germany. That was the last country that did it.
That's
other
just
than, like, the Soviet
recently
Union.
talked about in New Mexico. I was
Truancy.
listening. Deborah Mayu was talking about it on the radio,
Right.
and this is the illustrious Lujan Grisham that's pushed it. If a kid is truant like more than 5 or like I think it might be all the way up to 10, but 10 days in a year,
are these excused or unexcused? Like,
they just said truant, so I don't know. They're like they can't finish the year. And it's like, why? What? Because what if your mom and dad have decided that they're going to take you on a vacation and you're learning things, like say you go back east and you learn about our founding fathers and stuff, you're still learning.
right.
Right.
So
Well, what that might be again is like I'm talking about like the leeches. So like for every school kid there is, all that tax goes in to kind of help them, get equipment and stuff. So
Yeah.
if a kid isn't like fully dedicated to that, it's a leech, they have to cut it off.
right.
So I understand what they're getting at. It's just the flaw of communism, the socialist idea again, costing good people some convenience. It's because the government is trying to save the world.
What
They
I'm
keep
getting at
messing
is
it
it's
up.
BS that the public school system thinks that kids have to be in school for X amount of days per year.
Right.
Well, I mean,
It's like
I
as
think-
long as this kid is passing their tests and stuff,
Right.
who gives a crap?
Yeah,
Right.
as long as they're deeming that they're competent, like
Yeah.
But even then, like, I mean, when it comes to like getting the law involved, if a kid doesn't show up to school, like,
you could chalk it down to child abuse.
Yeah.
what? You know what I mean? Like, dude, it's just like, what if a parent was just
You
like,
know-
you know what, son? No more school.
That's
not abuse. That's just, I mean, yeah, maybe bad parenting, but it's none of the state's fucking business.
Yeah. I just find it appalling in this age of, rape. Quite frankly, it's an age of consent, right? A lot people are starting to come out. I mean, I've seen huge leaps and bounds in the libertarian movement compared to when I was young to when I'm, to now, where people are like, this is not okay. I should have a say on this. It should be consensual, right? And you even see this happening in life, with all these rape allegations, people are starting to debate the concept of consent. And I think that in this age of consent, I find it appalling that these children should be non-consensually forced to attend, all of the X amount of hours for the state to
our school system is so broken as it is because it's like, well, you don't get a childhood with the average school thing because it's like, well, you don't get to spend any time with your family because you have a full-time job at the age of 10.
You get homework until 2 in the
And and then you have to go home and do your homework. And if you don't do that, guess what? You fail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Period.
You talk about consent. Did you hear about that stupid college that makes all their students take that consent class? And supposedly you're supposed to ask your partner every 10 minutes if they still want to. You know how much of a mood killer that would be?
You're all ramming it from the back. Yo, you okay with this?
Right. Yeah. It's like, how would that... What?
Yeah, I'm okay with this. Wait, I changed my mind. You're raping me. God! No, son of a... You're going to jail, buddy.
There's even apps now.
For consent forms.
Yeah, saying, I am Ralph J. Fuddbucker.
And I consent to sexual relations.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair, because I've actually taken the time to actually see this from the other perspective because there's not a woman I've met in this town.
Yes.
Who has not, people who have moved in from outside, they're fine. But people in this town I've met on a ridiculous scale, the females have been abused, raped, molested, anything like that. And of course, me being a guy, it never happened.
Right.
And I'm not saying...
I couldn't even imagine doing it, let alone having it happen.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. So I always thought it was kind of silly until I started meeting women, in the dating scene. I started going to this young adults program, and everybody that was a female I met there, I'm a pretty trustworthy guy. Women like to talk to me, and they really trust me and all that. Not to brag, and not to simp or anything. Right. I'm not simping right now. Not all men are...
you beat me. You simp.
Yeah. Not all men are rapists. Right. And honestly, a lot of this is a little bit a woman may have had a boy reject her in her younger years, and she'll forever call him...
See, I had a Marine buddy, and he told me, he said he was in, and him and this girl got hot and heavy in the back of the barracks. They were both in the Marines.
Right.
And they ended up getting a little piece back where the laundry room was. And then the next day, she decided that wasn't okay, and then accused him of rape.
Right.
And he actually got court-martialed for it.
Right.
That's bull.
Right, and I mean, there's a lot of that goes on. But I mean, on what I mean average here, there's a lot of it going on. Both of my sisters went through it, from, not from my folks or anything, but from outside, you know what I mean?
Well, I understand something needs to be done about it, but also, we need to just quit believing automatically one side.
Of course,
because the female has the power now after the hashtag.
No, it's terrible.
All she has to do is say, "He touched my naughty bits," and everybody believes her.
Yeah, everyone starts crying and all this and that, and I do believe that it needs to be scrutinized to more. It needs to be scrutinized.
I think there should be more punishment if it's found out that everyone around you that was present even found out that it was consensual. It looked consensual to me.
Well, if you lied about this rape allegation, you should go to prison.
Yeah, right. There is no reason why,
because you are literally trying to ruin this man's life and get him killed, quite possibly. Yeah. You are and I think that should be a thing. But what I was getting to is all the way down, even, I believe women should carry guns for that reason. Right. Because there is a very common bit with that. And, you're talking about consent. And in this day and age, I mean, that's not really going to harm anything. I think most people are going to ignore that. Most sane people are not going to go get this app, to be like,
Yeah.
every 10 minutes that it dings to make you ask.
And,
or
if every woman carried a gun, that would actually cure it a lot. Because, then you could be
again,
like,
the guns are the solution.
well,
Just saying.
then you could be like, well, you obviously had the means to stop it, so it was obviously consensual.
Right.
No, you didn't pull out your gun.
Right.
You were being pounded, and you didn't stop, you didn't pull out, you didn't shoot his dick off, so...
I don't understand.
Which is actually incredibly common.
Really?
Yeah, actually, me and some coworkers were talking about this. It's actually like every day somebody here in the United States tries to get funky and they get their junk bit right off.
Really?
Now, my question is, that's really stupid to put your business there if you're trying to do something.
Yeah,
evil.
If you against somebody's will?
What?
Yeah.
Well, of course! Bro, what, dude? That's simp, like the farthest amount of like incel simp you can get.
Right.
Let me just put myself in danger real quick.
Right. That's one
so
with
dumb.
vibe check.
Vibe check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, but in this day and age, like, I understand where it's coming from. Like, I don't know all the cures to it, because to ignore it, there has to be something with this bizarre phenomenon. And I understand as men, we look at it, and even I understand, like, yeah, a lot of it's bullcorn. Like, most of it is actually bullcorn. Like, the whole Me Too movement was a social justice, virtue signaling crap. But yeah, right. Weinstein and Epstein,
perfect examples of.
I mean, Weinstein and Epstein are kind of like a perfect example that there's kind of some merit to it here.
And both of them are left leaning.
Yeah, both of them are left leaning, and honestly, all the men that I've heard have done these things, even in this town, are left leaning, pro-choice dudes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, they are, and I was like, that was kind of weird. And I started actually studying it. The whole pro-choice movement was started by men who wanted to rape and all this other stuff so they could actually, have the evidence erased.
Yeah. Well,
the pro-choice movement is...
Pro-choice movement was actually Margaret Sanger.
I mean,
it was actually the KKK.
There was the KKK, but there's actually some foundings in it all the way down, to where they could rape black women. Terrible. I hope I don't get, banned from saying that. Don't do that. It's a terrible thing.
But historically speaking,
they would do this, and then they would, of course, have the abortion done to hide the evidence that they did that.
Right.
And that's where Planned Parenthood and everything came from.
And they put it a little bit further, and when Margaret Sanger started pushing it, not only did they do it for cover-up, she said herself it was a way to control the population of the Negro race.
Because they were sterilizing as well when they were getting an abortion.
It's racist, it's terrible, and it has no place, especially if your whole thing is social justice.
In the human race itself.
In the human race, Like I said, I was a human supremacist, and that itself is it's a controversial statement for some reason. Like, what?
Right.
Just because I like all humans, no matter what race, I love all humans. That's a controversial statement because I'm putting humans above animals. Excuse me, you're a human. I'm a human. I'm telling you that you are worth more than an animal, and you're angry at me for that. Are you... And that's...
I'm not saying we should wipe animals off the face of the earth, but let's say a bear is attacking you. Would you like me to save the bear's life or your life?
Right.
Is the question. I don't understand this sort of...
Well,
it's all part of the confusion,
example,
man.
Hombre the gorilla.
Oh, Harambe.
Yeah, they were all freaking out because they killed this freaking gorilla. But, I'm sorry, that gorilla didn't hold any candle to that little kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Black, white, he was African American too.
Even though it was that little kid's fault for leaning over and doing that, I still have no problem killing that
gorilla. I would have shot it too. I would have shot the gorilla.
Yeah. What they should have done was got Bill Cosby in there because he'd be like, I could have tranquilized that gorilla.
I could have taken out that gorilla.
For those of you in Radio Land that couldn't see, he acted like he had a blowgun. He's like, zip zop zoopity bop, and then.
Yeah, and holding humans above animals is something that is ingrained in me, and I can't believe that's a controversial thing.
Right.
I mean, even PETA cracked me up because I actually coined the term. It's something that I thought I invented, speciesism. Guess what? They actually have a billboard in Albuquerque now, PETA, that's saying don't be speciesists or whatever.
Speciesists.
Yeah, speciesist. Don't be speciesist. And it was like, But that also, like you said, it goes into the whole concept that mankind is no different than animal.
Right.
Like, what? That's ridiculous.
And I like the PETA sign where it says, where do we draw the line? And somebody was funny and, like, put a line in between, like, where the dogs and the cats were, because they were talking about, like, eating animals. Mm-hmm. And I really freaked this lady out on Facebook one day. Because, see, when I was 19, I was over in Paraguay for, like, a year on a mission trip. And I said, well, heck, I don't draw the line anywhere. She said, what do you mean? Well, I've eaten dog, I've eaten horse, I've eaten cat, because that's what they had over there, and I find it quite tasty. And oh man, she flipped out on me.
That sounds about right. And I can understand where PETA is coming from. Like, yes, I think that I don't agree with, like, some of the the things that animals are stuck in, just because I don't think it makes the meat good, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's just it. Like, the slaughterhouses, if you look and see how they do it, it's gross.
There's a documentary that's not, like, freaking out like PETA is. It's called Food Incorporated.
Yeah. I think it's taking a very good, objective approach on what we're eating. Because, like...
Well, there has to be a reason. Because, like, throughout, like, 50s, 60s, 70s, cancer was kind of a rare thing. Now it's just, like... like 1 in 4 people has cancer. Yeah. Everybody has cancer, a defect, a disease that wasn't here until recently. Their immune system is gone. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? It's the food. And, it's all the way down to the point, like, most countries don't accept American imported food.
That is a fact.
Because our corn is actually an invasive type.
Screwed up.
It's GMO'd out, and our corn is actually, like... None of the corn like that we eat, and hardly any of the world's corn is the original corn seed.
It's been
except in, like, China, because China's like, no, you keep that shit away from here, because once one seed goes, it'll cross pollinate and completely wipe out the original corn. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what the hell? And this all goes to one company, and this is kind of an example of monopoly under unchecked capitalism, corporatism. Corporate favoritism, monopoly.
Yeah.
Monsanto is a perfect example of what monopoly is.
Right.
Monsanto owns the meat industry.
Pesticides, huge amounts of pesticides.
Huge amounts of pesticides. They sell all the chicken, all the beef, all of it goes through, like, Monsanto. And the only way you can get, like, an ounce of, like, real stuff is to go to an overpriced local place that actually butchers its cow, like, borderline right in front of you. Mm-hmm. And that you have seen this cow with your own 2 eyes eating the grass. And because, like, Burger King, McDonald's, all that, while it does taste good, don't get me wrong, I love me my McDonald's, it's that cow and everything else. I don't know if it's, like, just to keep up with demand. I think it is. They shove it so full of corn that the cows, like, when they die, are so filled with disease and rot, because cows aren't really supposed to eat corn.
And then we wonder why we have a disease problem and a obesity problem.
Yes. Mental deficiency problem.
Yeah.
You want to talk about where all these shootings and crazy people came from?
Full circle.
Yeah, you want to talk where all these crazy people are coming from? It's the food. Our chemicals are jacked, and it's all intentional. This is all part of the New World Order. They want us to be unhealthy.
Watch out, John. Now somebody's going to blame it on a Big Mac. They're like, it was the Big Mac that made me do it!
Well, damn.
You got me.
You got me. And don't get me wrong. Like, I think... But, yeah, our chemicals and everyone's walking around. You know what the most rampant thing is? The most rampant disease of all right now is depression. Everyone's depressed,
Anxiety too.
Anxiety is, like, out the roof. In a generations before, like, they didn't know what it was. People would worry, but they wouldn't, like, just worry for nothing. You know what I mean? They'd usually have a reason, then they'd get worried. And our production, of course, is slowing. Our economy is suffering, and everything is falling apart. And it all goes into our foods, our medicine, and everything. Like, Big Pharma has literal poisons. Like, I don't mean to be... make fun of me all you want, quote Alex Jones, but I really do think that most vaccines are filled with toxic...
Turn the frogs freaking gay.
I think that most modern vaccines, not the old school ones, like, vaccines killed polio, but that was a long time ago. Vaccines back then, the ones that killed, like, polio off, or we don't have it rampant like we used to, those were good vaccines. Those were good, but what you had to do, like I was saying, they aren't filled with stuff to make them last. They were like, okay, now that it's here, get it done. Get it done now, because supplies are short and this stuff expires here soon. So it was more natural, and it was a natural vaccine.
Right.
Now we have so much like
Preservatives.
I mean, you might as well be putting asbestic in. I believe they do in some of them, asbestos, arsenic, and I know for a fact mercury.
Yeah, mercury.
Yeah, arsenic's been in a few of them, but mercury's a big deal in pretty much all of them.
Mercury's in all the flu shots.
Yeah, and that there is like, what the hell? And I mean, we're getting down, like we've already seen under a conservative president push a law where 18-year-olds can't smoke. Well, what else is he willing to push? That everyone has to mandatorily vaccinate their kids?
Right.
Now, like I'm saying, I'm not saying that we should ban these vaccines.
Yeah, no.
I do believe that they should be reformed, but not by any means. I'm not saying that we should ban vaccines. I'm just saying that parents have the right what they do with their kids.
Well, especially like some of the vaccines, like that one that they push on freaking Hulu all the time, the human papillomavirus vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, they say, well, make sure you protect your preteen. I'm like, well, first of all, they get that by having sex. So if you teach your kid to keep their pants zipped up, they're not going to get HPV.
Well, here's my deal. Children are born and they're immediately stuffed with all these vaccines, including that, what's it called? Hepatitis. What in the hell? What the hell does a newborn need with a hepatitis vaccine? What? You know what I mean? Like a herpes vaccine? What? I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the hell is this going to be? I understand if, maybe the mom, it's, passed down through because they had to pass through that, birth canal, maybe. But even then, that's their vaccine right there. Yeah. I mean, because at that point, they weren't vaccinated in the womb, so they're going to catch it anyway. It's too late.
Anyways, yeah.
So it's like, what the hell is this? There's no excuse for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely none. There's no excuse to be putting children on anti-STD vaccines.
Well, that's just it.
Because it's like, well, if sex ed is doing its job...
Well, that's just it. They've stopped part of sex ed. They've stopped teaching abstinence.
Yeah.
That's why I enjoyed. I'm still in high school actively, and that's why I enjoy our sex ed teacher because her main motto is virginity rocks.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Virginity is cool. Come on, virginity is cool. Come on, virginity.
Come on, Amber.
Cool.
No.
Virginity.
No.
Oh, damn it.
Virgin.
I'm the only one.
But the thing also, I think it should be brought up more. Yes, a condom and birth control is a fantastic way of keeping obviously an unwanted child. You're not ready. That's probably the best way of safely doing it. Even vasectomies. It's a good idea because there's no worry. You're done. Your hands are in the air. You're good. You can live life, I guess. But there's also an easier way. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Which reminds me, guys out there, if you like what we're doing, hit like and subscribe because if you've ever forgotten the glove and not gotten the love, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe.
Right.
And I think it needs to be brought up more too. It's like, I need to have unprotected sex with random strangers.
Right.
No, you don't though.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
I've heard it time and time again. It's such a stupid excuse. Well, would you go to a car dealership and not test drive the car before you buy it?
What? Bro, we're talking about humans. A machine human, okay.
Right.
So
and there's statistics time and time again. Even people shacking up together. Mm-hmm. You have cut your success in marriage in half of lasting more than 10 years by shacking up. Mm-hmm. It's a fact. Yeah. Statistical fact. So it's like
that doesn't surprise me. It's crazy that ever since the 90s, there's just been this huge sex culture that has really blown out of proportion, and I think it's really tragic that this ultimate creation of life. I think the human body fascinates me. The child inside of the mother's womb, right? When it's actually building these cells, if there's a hiccup somewhere, gone. 9 times out of 10 when a woman's pregnant, she never even knows it.
Yeah.
She wakes up in the morning after, a rough, a crazy night, and she may feel a little, maybe even sick or something, just a little bit, and guess what? And nothing. the baby's gone. Like it's a natural way of removing a baby, but I find it appalling that the mother's body is capable of down to almost perfectly 90% of the time removing that baby because
there's
something wrong with it, right? It's going to be born and it's not going to be a child. It's going to have an arm growing out of its head. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be good for either the mother or the baby's health, right? And it blows my mind that the human body is able to do that. And I can't remember what point I was trying to make.
I don't know that the simple concept of a child being
the actual structure of a child, if you look at it even at a molecular level, is absolutely beautiful. I find it the most fascinating thing, even just alone. The fact that this hunk of a man is able to produce this protein that's able to actually kickstart the production of another human that's going to grow up to be our size blows my mind.
Right.
You know what I mean? You were at one point you were down to a tiny cell that you can't even see with the naked eye. Yeah. And right now you are a living, breathing, thinking, laughing human being.
Right. I mean, the human is amazing. Mm-hmm. It is fantastical, and it is, of course, the most amazing form of childbirth.
And it is started off as a swimmer.
Right.
That's where they got the whole fish idea from. Yeah. Anyways, the human, of course, is the most amazing of all God's creatures.
Amen.
But even then, looking at just how whales and everything else works, it's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
It's like, what? That's so cool. These tiny little things come out, and it grows, and its cells replace themselves, and its body is able to maintain. And they keep pushing this concept that all the creatures in the world, that's something that I ask atheists and people who don't believe in creation or anything of the sort. It's like, well, how did we figure, how did through generations did we figure having two arms would be better than one? You know what I mean?
Right.
And did we just start everybody
cut
collectively
shit off?
Yeah, everybody collectively just started pushing really hard on their left shoulders, I want a left arm, I want a left arm. And after 100 years, finally the 100,000th baby that was born had a finger sticking out of its shoulder. We're doing it! That doesn't make any sense to me.
Even down to the appendix, it has a use. The appendix, we found out, actually holds probiotic bacteria. In the
all the way down to we're looking at that. What would could really be nice is some kind of a bacteria catcher. So we look at our own body.
Stomach,
yeah. I want an appendix. I want an appendix.
Yeah. How did that happen?
A couple billion years later, we got an appendix. I mean, that's not how that works. Right. Yeah, that's retarded.
And there's so many things that people try to say again that we're just all we're animals.
Yeah, it boils down.
There's so many things that actually we are different from animals, even biologically. Did you know that the human male is the only living animal, actually mammal, on the planet that doesn't have a bone inside their penis for an erection?
Yeah, I heard about that too. Yeah. That way it's just tendon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's men do some pretty crazy stuff. We'll probably break it.
Yeah, I was going to say. If I pull hard enough.
We get a little too wild with it.
Right.
See, God knew that. See, because he's like, animals going to do the same position every time. Humans, they're going to do some crazy crap.
Oh, they freaky.
But so I better prepare them, give them a rubber dick.
I like up in that tree, baby, and jump on them there.
Right.
I like living in this town specifically because I get a different viewpoint. I obviously Darwinism is taught because I think there should be opposing ideas.
Yeah. Of course.
Obviously nobody's gonna say, oh well, how restricting this idea is a good idea. I don't think it is. Obviously any sane human being would agree with me. But it was also nice because this teacher interjected his own opinion, which I actually ended up using as an argument structure of mine. Take a cup of sand, right? There was a beautiful video on it, and I'm probably going to botch it here and there, but it's also going to put things into perspective, right? So assuming that everything just happened by happen chance, take a cup of sand, right? This cup of sand, you're going to grab 1 grain of sand out of it, and that's going to be the creation of all matter in the universe, right? Or that's going to be the Big Bang itself, right? Take that cup of sand and dump it into a pool of sand, like a small kiddie pool of sand, and grab a piece of sand out of it. That sand is going to be all observable matter in the universe existing after that Big Bang, right? Now take that pool of sand and dump it into a beach. And take off that beach the single grain of sand, and that's going to be a habitable planet for humans. Now take that and make that the entire observable solar system. That's going to be the creation of life, whether it be living or non-living. It's going to be at one point life being created. Now take the entire observable universe that we know right now and put a speck of sand in it and grab that speck of sand. That's going to be anthropomorphic beings that have the ability to think, speak, and act as a human being.
Right.
What takes more faith?
An amazingly complex system as morals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What takes more faith? The thought that this overseeing, loving, all-judging, all-knowing creator of ours who bestowed the actual ability to question his word exists, or all of this is just happen chance and everything is meaningless.
Right.
Well, how I described it, like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll take the bait. It's possible, right? It's possible that this was an accident. In the same way, it's possible. So, have you ever looked at, let's take my truck. My truck with its motor, its hood, its everything, all the pieces that make it work, the turning bits in the wheels, the, everything in my truck that makes it a machine that I can turn a key, it starts, the hood is down, everything's secured. I can get from one side of town to the other side of town pretty much without flaw as long as I drive it correctly. It's just another thing. I have a steering wheel that turns the wheels the way I want it to go without lag or anything like that if it's working. So I have this, and yeah, it's possible. You take it piece by piece, and I'm talking to every piece, every nut, every bolt, every single mechanism down to the bit that lifts the hood up and down, like the hydraulics, you know what I mean? All pieces. You take everything of this vehicle, this machine, you put it in a box, all separated, not connected at all, and not in any close to each other. The motors and the spark plugs are going to be on two different sides of the box, and it's a pretty big box.
Yeah.
And you take this machine, you pick up this box, and this machine starts shaking this box violently for millions of years. And on one occasion, down the line of these millions of years, this truck pops out of the box, fully put together. All the nuts are in shape. Everything's tightened. Everything's perfect. It's, as it was factory made, but it was put together by shaking it in a box.
Right.
It's possible, but damn, is that unlikely. Like, at any rate, if you're shaking it up like that, you're not going to get a truck no matter what.
It takes way more faith.
Yeah, it takes way more faith, and I've heard that a lot. It takes more faith to be an atheist than it does to believe in a creator. Yeah. And and that's something I always say to people. I say you have two options, and I've brought this up. We're either in a simulation, and this is all a program, because it works like code.
Yeah.
It works like sentences. Yeah, quantum physics.
Take quantum physics.
Take quantum physics. You already got yourself proof of that or God. And quantum physics is something that Stephen Hawking, all these atheists have even looked into and proven that, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on, but they know something's going on. And if you look at quantum physics and you do not come to the conclusion that this is a matrix or that there is a God, then you're not paying attention.
Right.
Or you're outright denying it, like Stephen Hawking and Tyrese, whatever his name is.
There's an interesting thing, speaking of quantum theories, there's even, quantum physics... It's pretty unpredictable, right? It's the concept of observation. So a simple quantum theory is a cat in the box, right? He has two morsels of food. One of these morsels is going to be fine. He's going to eat it and he's going to be happy with himself. Yeah. The other one is poison. If the cat consumes it, it will die.
Right.
So you take both of these morsels and put it in, and you put the cat in the box and you close the box and you step away for 30 minutes and you look at it. How do you know the cat's dead?
Yeah.
You can't. Until you open the box.
Cat.
Therefore, the cat is both dead and alive at the same time without you knowing. That's the basic concept of quantum physics. Is because a 1 can be a 0 in binary, a 1 can be a 0 at the same time until it's observed. Right. That is, computers don't work that way.
And the very fact of observing it changes it.
It changes
it. That's what I was talking with you, War Spirit, about, and you were like, what? Because I was saying, imagine you take a computer that's all ones and zeros, and that's all it does is ones and zeros, because that's what level it's on. That's a computer.
If you do something with a computer, it needs input for it to do something. This is spontaneous.
It's all ones and zeros. Yeah. However, add a dimension. 3. You know what I mean? 2. Throw a 2 in the mix, and the computer stops. It's like, the hell is that? Right. And it'll look at this 2, and it'll try to turn it into ones and zeros. But it can't.
Right.
Because the 2 is not on the same frequent.
Scale.
It's not on the same level of the computer. So to take this, quantum physics reaches the scale of dimensions. And so dimensions are like talking about, the third, we're in like the third dimension, or even like, some have said we're in like the fourth dimension or whatever, because we can move like diagonally or whatever. So like, the third dimension is like, take that square, you've seen it in like 3D modeling programs, is like you have a red arrow that's for like horizontal plane, and a green arrow and a blue arrow that's for the
X
vertical
and Y,
plane. Yeah, X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? And that's for the 3. And you can move freely in this space. That's 3 dimensions. Whereas a 2D is like just one of those.
It's just the X.
It's just the X. Yeah. And then, 1 dimension is just still.
Yeah.
It's just...
It's there. It exists.
It's there. It exists. And then, you're going into that. What starts happening when you start going into the 4th dimension, 5th dimension, 6th dimension? What you start to realize is that the 3rd dimension is actually not very realistic compared to the 4th dimension. And you better believe the 4th dimension is not very real compared to the 10th dimension, which, as they've proven at this point, is that there's like 10 or 12 dimensions. And
it's just a big
yeah, and we cannot observe it because we are not of that dimension. Now, I do believe that the 3rd dimension can look into the 4th dimension, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I heard it. I heard it somewhere that even like down to a geometric scale. Right. So 3rd dimensions, when we hold a ball in our hands, right, we can see this side of the ball. Right. We can see the curvature of the ball. That's how the 3rd dimension works. As it enables us to see the depth. Perceive depth. Yeah. But with the 4th dimension, all sides of the ball is visible.
You see it at the same time.
I can see every side of the ball at any given time. Yeah. That's what is, I think.
I've heard it also taken like being able to see the edge of this paper.
Right.
But you can't see what's on top
exactly.
of it. But when you can see, when it turned, then you can see the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, so what we're looking at with that is you're getting into also the concept of what is time. And like all this whole timeline. So we look at it as humans, we have a timeline. As Christians, we believe Adam and Eve was like the beginning. You know what I mean? And then, like, atheists, they believe that at least, whatever, caveman and the Big Bang was the beginning. Yeah. They believe that is the beginning of time conceivable. And we believe, God, Christianity, we cannot believe that God is restricted to this time scale. That's something that I don't get it. Like, I mean, immediately I understood the concept of all-powerful and that he is not restricted by us. But a lot of people don't get that. It is a mind-blower to a lot, is that God is on this, 10 or 12th dimension. And so his time, he is, that is how he is able to be here, there, and everywhere. That is the omnipresence. And it's explainable in science, in this quantum physics. It's not just something like out of fiction. It makes sense. It finally starts to make sense on our dimension that we understand, whoa, there's something more here, that is explainable with our man-made science, at least almost. Because no matter what we can do, we can never reach that actual point where we fully understand any dimension other than our own. Right. But at that point, you start to realize that's how God can answer all prayers. I mean, it's not so much that he's like all powerful and he can just do that, It's that he's actually moving at a speed that is like unfathomable to us. Right. That he is outside of our time scale. He is in the past as much as he is in the present and as much as he is in the future. And the Bible actually talks about this. It talks about this dimension that God is on. The Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and the end. Right. And that also implies that he is everything in between too.
Right.
So that is the dimension that we're dealing with.
Well, he's outside of time.
He's outside of time.
Okay.
Which is immediately like mind-blowing. So,
yes, sir.
To get off on that rant, it's an amazing thing. So I actually talked about it. Look up audience, look up the split slit experiment. That right there that will open your eyes that, either one, this is a matrix. Even big YouTuber talked about it. Riddle, Riddle. He's like a dude who just kind of talks over a bunch of footage. He actually went into the split slit experiment. And in his video, he doesn't really delve into the whole God thing. He just delves into solely that this is a simulation. which again makes sense because if you look at the fabric of the universe, it works like coding.
Mm-hmm. Even down to our genetic reproduction of cells in the body. You know, you have A, T, G, and C.
Right.
You know, A and T pair and C and G pair. It's a system. You know what I mean?
Now, as those are
brings out these cells.
The first computers came from the concept of what ants are.
Mm-hmm.
Ants, they never have too many ants outside of the pile. It's always a formulated amount of what they need at that time.
Mm-hmm.
There is no ants that are like, you know,
out getting extra.
None of that. There's none of that. They know exactly what set amount of ants are going out. That is the ones. And then, you know, like what amount of ants are staying in.
That's the zeros.
That's the zeros. And yeah, that's their hive mind. Ants, like every ant colony you see, is literally a computer.
Right.
It is that they are working like clockwise.
If X, it's a function. If Y equals such and such, X will be this. It's
and that was the concept of the first computers.
Yeah. It's if statements.
Then. Basically, that's the best way to simplify it is if then.
Right, and I mean, that's how they're able to walk in perfect unison. It's also, get this, how birds are able to fly in unison.
Mm-hmm.
And of
course, they can feel. Yeah, exactly.
It's also how we're able to do math,
or
spell.
Yeah, a good.
All of it points to a type of like coding.
Equation, yeah.
It's weird. It's like, you know, if X equals X, then equals. You know what I mean? It's
something has to bring forth something.
Right, and I mean, everything is a plus, an addition, and a minus. So like, you know, male plus female equals child. You know what I mean? Male plus male equals nothing. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like S plus T plus O plus P.
Like incompatible.
You know
and so what we have is a bunch of systems and things going awry. The system is falling apart, not in a sense of like that it's breaking, but like people keep trying to corrupt the system, the natural coding. And what we're running into is like suffering because there's corruptions in the code. And don't get me wrong, folks, like I can't, you know, I'm not going to go off on like an Alex Jones rant and say that like this is all a simulation, but if it comes down to it, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I'd be like, oh, well, found you, you know, like I knew, you know, and hell.
I had an inkling.
And that's exactly right. Our brains are supercomputers.
Right.
That's the only way to describe them is as a supercomputer.
The brain named itself.
Yeah. The brain is the most important organ in the body, according to what?
The brain.
The brain. Isn't that?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also kind of appalling how the brain will try and even protect itself in the long runs too. Like, say you lose blood and, you know, people pass out. It's because obviously you can't get blood to your brain, which sucks ass. But also sometimes it's really cool. It even tries to preserve the heart so it can preserve itself. At the end, the brain is ultimate. You're not really considered dead until your brain is dead, right? So like, and that's the thing that's crazy is hypothermia. Take hypothermia, right? So in extreme cases of hypothermia, towards the end, when you actually succumb to hypothermia and eventually die if you're not given help, the muscles in your body and your legs, your arms tense up so bad it's excruciatingly painful because the muscles in your wrists all the way down to your fingers are spasming and squeezing the blood out of themselves to rush it to your core to keep you warm. Right. And the same goes for your brain. That's why you pass out. Is because of that reason. It's because it's pulling all of the blood it can to keep your core warm, to keep your heart alive. Therefore, the brain can live. Although you're going unconscious for a while,
right? Which is amazing. It's how is that accidental?
Yeah. How in the hell did we eventually get to that point?
Well, I mean, evolved that ever.
Yeah, son of a bitch! I've been taking ice baths since I was born, boy.
Right.
The whole concept itself that the brain.
Right.
I mean, the brain has the idea to reason, and it has methods of doing this. I mean, so if you're blind, use your fingers and your ears to make
it compensates.
And if if you see. That's something to reason. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why a lot of people have a problem with believing in this God is because they haven't seen them with their eyes. Yeah. Something that God gave them to make reason so they could survive.
Think about the brain.
Yeah.
How can you reason that your brain actually exists? You never see it.
You're right. Like,
you're never going to touch your... I mean, realistically speaking, you're never going to touch your brain. How can you prove it exists?
I like what a reverend said one time. I forgot what I saw it on.
You can see other people's brains, but it doesn't mean
it was an old black preacher, and I remember him saying, it has a lot of faith to believe in the wind. I've seen the effects of the wind,
Right.
but I've never seen the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's a good point.
Right. There
It's
is no
just-
image of wind. It's just air.
Yeah, you
It's
can't
moving.
see wind.
You
Yeah.
cannot see air.
Yes, you can see the effects of wind, but that doesn't
Right.
mean you can see it.
Right.
Right.
Just like we can see the effects of God in our lives, but we can't see God.
You can't see God.
Exactly.
And
I mean,
it's like,
you know,
I think it's this hunger for everything to be rationalized.
right.
I think that's
Yeah.
that's also the human's downfall too. But it's also one of the most beautiful things. At what point do we say, "Wow, why did a baby pop out of you"? You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
that's the beauty of faith
Yeah,
too, because
exactly.
it does. God challenges us in the Bible straight up. Yeah.
You reminded me of you ever watch Blue Lagoon?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so it's a pretty old movie. It's got I can't even remember the name of the actress in it. She was like really cute back in the day. It was like old movie. But they're supposed to be like shipwrecked as kids on this island, like her and this other boy, and they grow up together. Well, they don't know anything
Yeah, they're
about
children,
sex
yeah.
or anything. So, but they end up playing around. They kind of figure out what goes where, and all of a sudden she's freaking out because there's something coming out of her.
Right.
Yeah, and
It's
she
just-
has a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating that it's just this frantic, attempt to try and rationalize things. And I think it's also a cool thing that we've been given the ability to do it, because not even animals can do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Animals can't. They can't.
Well,
laugh
I mean,
at
all the way
jokes.
down, like something
Yeah.
as simple in the Bible as saying that mankind rules over all animals
Mhm.
is kind of a scientific breakthrough, especially back in those days. Because, like, back in those days, a guy who sees a lion might be like, well, that's the king of, everything right there.
Right.
Because it could rip me apart easy.
But I'm
here's
able to outsmart it.
I am
like-
able to outsmart
Right.
all animals. And that's something that the Bible says,
Yeah.
even, like, ancient texts.
Just ask the Maasai tribe.
Right.
They've taken care of lions.
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean, and it's
We even have the ability to tame animals.
Yeah.
Dogs are a perfect example. They're
Right.
obviously more susceptible to taming, but the
dude,
fact that
we can tame lions,
Yeah.
we can tame bears.
albeit it's a bastard and a half, and sometimes they get riley, but man, you can
do it.
You can do it.
Yeah,
And that's one of the things God told us to do
Right.
is to go forth and subdue the earth. That's part
Right.
of subduing the earth.
right. And we are, supposed to protect it too.
Yeah.
It actually is to be a good shepherd.
Well, you're supposed to be a good steward of what God's given you, and so
Yeah.
He's given us this whole earth.
Yeah,
And so why that's what I find so funny. So as you guys well know, I'm a hunter.
yeah,
My family's hunted. We've done a lot of it. It's in my blood. It's right at
Midnight town.
We need to wrap it up pretty soon.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I understand that.
We're gonna leave
so-
it. We're gonna probably leave it off from your point.
Yeah,
But so people automatically assume that since I'm a hunter, that I don't care about animals. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. If it was not from... So in the early 1900s, when there was no
restrictions.
regularization of hunting,
Literally Red Dead. Yeah.
the American elk was almost non-existent. It was almost extinct. And so we come forward and said, hey, we need to preserve this animal for future generations.
Right.
We had already started going through, the Industrial Revolution, all this different stuff. And so we didn't absolutely need this. Everybody didn't need this animal
Right.
to eat. Okay, so it became more of a sport and just preserving that hunting culture, which is a
Right.
big part of the gun culture.
Right.
So we started regularizing them, saying you can only hunt this many elk in this area. And that made the populations boom. And now we have a very, very healthy elk population throughout the U.S.
Oh yeah. I mean, even just down here to the east,
The Rocky Mountains all the way up to, of course, there's different types of elk.
the Jicarilla Reservation.
Yeah.
You got
You
like
can-
3,500
You can
ahead
even
out
even
there,
see the
know?
deficits of this in Yellowstone
Yeah.
when there was a huge purging of wolves.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole other...
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on stupid wolves.
Right.
But, so, with that, I think that's being a good steward. Like,
Yeah.
and hunting those animals though is being a good steward. Because if you didn't hunt those animals, if you
They
just
would be
said
gone.
no more
Yeah.
hunting,
Yeah.
well, they would die of starvation, disease, fates way worse than an arrow or a bullet going through them.
Which even goes into the Bible and everything else. The Chinese understood this well too, with the whole yin yang. There's a balance in the world, and God inherently put this in us to understand this balance between us and creation.
Sure.
You know, and there's that this balance goes into morality and everything else. It's,
Right.
Now, not to say, but here's the thing about the Bible that's different. There's actually no room for any evil. Now, there's room for darkness, and the darkness is when you kill that animal. That's the darkness. However, this darkness brings light. And what I mean by darkness is suffering, whereas, there can be no darkness with the light.
Right.
But I'm not saying, but like that's the whole balance here is like.
But mitigating that darkness too, because anybody who's ever seen a coyote eating a calf as it's being born, it's a horrible way to die.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing.
A lot better
to shoot the coyote.
Yeah. Or to grow that calf up and butcher it.
Yeah.
All the same. Then it just gets dizzy and falls asleep because you cut its throat.
Right.
Pretty much. Yeah. And it's hunting is good. So we covered a lot of things today, and
we did.
Probably not so much.
It was.
Yeah, and I'm ready to go home.
I understand. Yeah. We're all pretty tired here. So, all right, guys, thank you for joining us for Istodaytheday podcast. It was a pleasure to make it. We made it through thick and thin. We have a sick dude with us. We got IT along with us, all that. So, thank you for joining, everybody. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
God bless you. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us here for the discussion topics to be brought to us clearly to the best of our ability. Thank you, Lord, to give us blessings as we go out of this building and help us to further your kingdom, Lord. In your precious name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Let's get this all wrapped up.
Right.